All right, I finally played Armored Core 6. Bam, right there on the PlayStation 5. Full transparency, I am not a huge fan of mecha, and I have never played an Armored Core game before. But, funnily enough, what actually made me want to try this game out in the first place was another game called 13 Sentinels, which is a visual novel about people all throughout time piloting these mechs and fighting against aliens. And look, it's a whole lot, and I don't really got the time to explain that. This is a video about Armored Core, but all you need to know is that I was enjoying this game so much that I felt like I wanted to pilot a mech myself, you feel me? And then that's when I had the bright idea. I was like, wait a minute, a mech game just came out last year. So I hopped on Amazon, and Armored Core 6 just so happened to be on sale for 40 beans at the time. So I just saw it as a sign, and then I placed my order right then and there. So let me tell you what my expectations were before I even got into Armored Core 6, because I think you're gonna laugh at me, but I'm gonna tell you this straight up. If you judge me for this, I'm gonna send you a pipe bomb. I kind of wanted a power fantasy type game where I'm piloting like this badass mech and just mowing motherfuckers down and making these crazy ass mech builds and feeling like I'm saving the world and shit like that. Some real hero shit, you feel me? Now, I knew this game was developed by FromSoft, and silly little me, I thought to myself, I was like, hey self, surely not every game that FromSoft makes is gonna be hard, right? It's just gonna be a Le Combat game, right? Well, I learned my lesson pretty quickly that this game was not going to be that power fantasy that I was hoping for, and that the game has a lot more depth and challenge to it than I was originally expecting. But before I get into what I like about Armored Core, because there are a few things, let me get on to my petty bullshit, you feel me? And let me express some things that I didn't really like about Armored Core 6. And the first thing, and the most important thing, is that I feel like, me personally, I am owed a professional sit down. No, not a professional sit down, a personal sit down with the masochistic, downright evil bastard that designed the Operation Wall Climber mission. Okay, let me explain this shit to y'all. During this mission, you have to infiltrate this base that's being defended by like 30 rocket turrets mounted on this big ass wall, and it's just incredibly frustrating to try and get through this mission because they lock onto you from so far away, and it's like damn near impossible to dodge all these rockets and focus on your objective at the same time. In my opinion, this is the first wall, no pun intended, type shit, for the player. I know that a lot of people consider that first little helicopter boss to be the first barrier, but I thought that fight was actually kind of easy once you got the hang of the game. And I actually kind of liked that boss because it taught you that aggression is heavily rewarded and that sword is fucking broken. All that Operation Wall Climber taught me was why my dad left me at a very young age. I guess he could tell that I would grow up to be an abject failure with no gaming skills, despite the fact that this shit is my job, and now I'm trauma dumping. Another thing that I still don't really like are the controls. This game controls very uniquely, so if you try to play this game like you would most other games, you're just gonna have a really bad time. You have to learn how Armored Core wants you to play the game, and it's pretty unintuitive. But also, to their credit, I'm not really too sure how else you would make a game this action-packed and complex control any much better. If you're struggling with this game, the biggest tip I can give you is to lock onto your opponent and don't touch that right stick. I know it don't make no sense, but after you lock on, if you touch that right stick at all, you will lose your lock on. And with how fast enemies move in this game, you're just gonna get blasted. There's also gonna be times when the enemy sort of breaks your camera by zipping past you. Still, listen to me, man. Do not touch that right stick. The game will track the enemy. It's just gonna take it a second. It's really annoying, but it did really help me a lot. And then I also turned my camera sensitivity to 10, and that helped the game feel a lot better. One more tip that I have for you is to make sure that you're doing a lot of the side stuff as well. Do those arena fights, the tutorials, and repeat missions a lot. You'll get weapons, parts, OS upgrades, and money to upgrade your mech. Also, don't forget, if you buy a part you do not like, you can sell it for the same price you bought it for, and then use that money to buy other things to experiment with your build, so make sure you take advantage of that. Now let's get on to some of the things that I do like. First of all, this game is gorgeous, especially in HDR. Like, the brightness of the flames that burst out of your mech are so eye-popping. And to add on to that, you can customize the contrast and saturation of the game to match your preferred look, and it's just gorgeous. The game also runs very smooth at 60 FPS in the performance mode with very minimal frame drops, if any at all, which is crazy as hell considering how hectic this game gets. Also, I gotta say, even though I don't love the control scheme of this game, it does feel satisfying. I think a lot of that has to do with how responsive the mech feels and how powerful it is. Especially when you do the little assault dash thingy, like bursting in with that dash and slicing an opponent with a sword is kind of exactly what I was imagining when I was wanting a mech game to fulfill that power fantasy. I also must add that while I initially may have wanted the game to be a little bit easier, I do kind of appreciate that this game isn't completely Mickey Mouse. It forces you to think outside of the box and experiment with different builds for different situations, and I think that's pretty dope. Like, I would not have expected my preferred mech style to be a very light and nimble build, but zipping all around the stage and executing quick dodges, getting in and out, like, yes, that feels so good when you do it properly. And then every now and then I get reminded that this is a FromSoft game and I get fucked, but that's besides the point. The set pieces in this game are also so damn cool. Like, there's this one mission where you scale this giant fucking like machine, this AT looking motherfucker, and yo, that shit was fire. Like, you take out its legs, then you scale the whole thing, and then you destroy it, and then you gotta make an escape as it's exploding behind you. Like, yeah, motherfucker, this is cinema, bitch. Yeah, I kinda got into it. What are you gonna do about it, boy? And I also wanted to talk about what is probably my favorite aspect of this game, and that's the 1v1s with the other mechs, and one particular boss fight that I'll get into in a second. So in certain missions, or if you go into the arena tab, you can engage in these 1v1s with other mechs that almost feel like it's a PvP situation, and this is where the game shines most in my opinion. Like, you get to learn the other mechs' attack patterns, what weapons they're using, and when to counterattack those weapons, and that shit is really satisfying. And then you also get to see the enemies zip around the stage, kind of like a player would. And, you know, they're dodging your rockets, they're backing up from your sword slashes, and that shit is really exhilarating. The AI for the enemies too is really good. Like, they're really gonna dodge your shit, and you have to learn how their dodging patterns are set up so that way you can punish them. And the best part about it is that I actually learned some techniques from the 1v1s too, because the AI is so good. Like, I learned how to optimally maneuver and dodge opponents. The 1v1s also really taught me the importance of having the high ground. If you're above your opponent, it makes it extremely hard for them to hit you, but you got a way easier time in hitting them. These fights almost feel like, you know, the FromSoft fights in other titles like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, and there's no surprise that those are some of the best moments in the game. These fights also reward you with these little chip joints that give you these OS upgrades, and these OS upgrades add a bunch of different functions to your mech. So not only are these arena fights really fun, you also get really good rewards from them. Okay, now finally, low-key the reason I'm making this video was because the most recent mission I did in Armored Core 6 was probably my favorite section that I played of the game so far. There's this mission that features 2 boss fights that I think are amazing and highlight this game perfectly. The first fight is against another mech named Sulla, and this fight is the culmination of those 1v1 arena fights I was talking about before, but this time it's a bit more challenging, and you also get to go from like fighting from the ground to fighting in the sky to now you're like skating on the fucking water, just brawling with this mech, and it's really dope. I love the environment of this fight. It's a little tricky at first, but again, you know, Armored Core is a game all about adaptation and experimentation, so if something isn't working for you, just try a different approach or a loadout or whatever. Or you could be like me and be stubborn and force your current build to work. Hooray! And then after fighting Sulla, we get to a point that kind of changed my opinion of the game. Like, I thought Armored Core 6 was a decently fun game, sure, but it wasn't really anything mind-blowing to me. Like, don't get me wrong, I was enjoying myself and everything like that, but it wasn't anything like unforgettable. And then I fought Baltius. Is that how you say that? Is that how you say that motherfucking name? Baltius? Baltius? I absolutely love this fight. This has all of the best parts of Armored Core. It has the spectacle, that 1v1, the skill checks, the planning and strategy, the mechanics of the boss fight and all that. Like, all that shit is top tier. I was not expecting some like bullet hell type segments in this game, but I love that it existed here. This was also the fight that taught me a lot more about the mechanics of the game and got me feeling much more comfortable with the combat of Armored Core 6. Like there were some parts of the game where I felt like the game was just unfairly balanced or like too hard without being satisfying enough to warrant that. And while I still believe that about some of these segments, like that mission with the invisible mechs, that shit can burn in eternal hellfire, I think I actually appreciate Armored Core 6's difficulty. Even when I do get stuck in Armored Core, it's not really like a Souls game or something where you might get stuck on a boss for an hour or 2 hours or however long it may be. In this game, if I get stuck, it's usually within a few tries that I figure out what I'm supposed to do. Or in like the worst case scenario, you might get stuck for like an hour or so. I think my biggest hurdle to climb was Operation Wall Climber, just because I wasn't prepared for that kind of mission structure in this game. So that one took me a lot longer. But other than that, you know, I think the difficulty of this game is like pretty okay. And that's what I think about Armored Core 6. You know, I finally gave the game a shot and I'm gonna go ahead and say it, I'm really glad I did. I'm also glad that I waited until it was 40 bucks because I don't know if this is the type of game I would have been super happy to spend 70 beans on, but for 40 bucks, it's on sale right now at the time of me making this video. So if you watch this video really early, you can get it for 40 beans, and I think it's well worth that price of admission. I think you'll have a lot of fun with this game if you have any interest in mechs at all. But yeah, this was kind of a different video for me on this channel, you know, very lightly edited, but kind of more of me giving my opinions on some games that I'm playing off stream. Because I do love playing games, but I realize that not everybody wants to watch streams of these games or watch playthroughs of these games. So I decided, like, if I'm gonna be playing these games off stream, I still kind of want to share my experience with these games because, you know, I love playing games. So I thought, why not make a little bit of a video like this for some of the games that I've been trying out recently, and hopefully you guys like shit like this. And if you do, I would really greatly appreciate you liking this video and commenting and doing all that good shit, because I love video games. I love to share my passion of video games with you guys. So yeah, like I alluded to in the beginning of this video, I've also been playing 13 Sentinels. I can make a video on this for all my visual novel lovers. I think you're gonna love this game. I've been replaying Red Dead 2, which is a game that I fucking hated when it came out, like hated with every fiber of my being. And has my opinion changed on that game? I don't know, we'll have to see. Maybe I'll make a video on it if you guys want. But yeah, I'm playing a ton of games off stream, so if you guys want me to make more videos talking about all the other games that I'm playing, feel free to let me know. Anyways, that was it for me. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll catch you tomorrow for my next YouTube video.